Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. Today I have Pamela Johnson on, who is a friend of mine who's been on the podcast in the past, and I am so happy to have her back on again today. She's doing beautiful work in the world and is here to talk about soul archetypes, and I can't wait to dive into what that is, why it matters, why do we need to know about this, how can it impact our lives through this knowledge. But Pamela, please, welcome. Introduce yourself and let us know your journey. How did you get to be where you are and how you're showing up in the world and bringing the light that you're bringing?
Oh my, well, it's a pleasure to be here. And I think we could probably spend the whole time talking about that.
I know, right?
So I'll make it brief. Yes, I am the founder of Soul Path Guidance, and I show up as a transformational life coach. I'm also a mentor to other coaches and consultants. And I'm a teacher, an Enneagram teacher, and a spiritual coach and director. So a soul path really has been my incredible life path. And I now help others through their own version of that journey. I like to say that my calling is really to help people discover their inner treasure. To become,
which we all have, but not everyone realizes it's there.
Yes. And with that, then becoming an agent for positive change in their life, right? And this idea of empowerment, right? Empowering the authority of your soul. Because so often we get pulled by the daily grind, and I'm right now, it's like this, am I going forward? Am I thinking about the past? And I'm just in the daily grind. And so where is the depth of that? How do I move? I'm feeling pulled by something deper. And so we're in this struggle, and with that tension, there's so much gold.
Yes. And, I love the way to that. With that tension, there's so much gold, because we tend to look at the tension as resistance. And it's like, what's beyond that resistance? What is underneath the place where we are afraid to look or explore? Because we know that tension is our edge of learning and growth and awareness, right?
Yes. And so we it's really about how can we expand our capacity to hold the tension, to get to the truth of what is trying to get our attention, because we know it's time to change, whether it's time for you to change relationships or careers or change sizes energetically. You know that staying small is no longer serving you.
So can I just pause you there? Because we could literally talk for hours, and I know we could, because we've done that together, so we know how to do this. But can you say a little bit more of, when you say, what is trying to get our attention? In your experience, in your work and working with your clients, what would you say are some common blaring signs, awarenesses that, like, okay, universe is trying to like ring your doorbell. It's like a solicitor that won't stop knocking, but we're like, oh, that's not a sign. I'm not paying attention. What would you say are things that people can start to really listen to that are those things trying to get our attention?
Absolutely. What a rich and profound question to hold. And so my first response is to say, what does that automatically, even asking the cosmic size question, it ignites our light inside of us. It ignites our shadow inside of us. And it wakes us up to what is. And so what can be getting our attention? It can be, in this moment, I don't feel like I have trust. I don't feel like I have self-esteem. I don't feel like I have direction. I feel lost. That could be getting my attention in a big way. So much so that I misidentifying with that as a problem. And then there's this other piece to talk about how, and we can name this in any way, but it's really guidance that comes, and it's so subtle. But when we can attune to growth, when we can attune to saying yes to even small itty bitty changes, we start to become in alignment with what our soul wants us to do. We stop doing the things that no longer serve us. And that can be through a dream. That can be through someone whispering something in the grocery store next to you. That can be through something you hear on a podcast. That can be, anywhere.
And that change, even those itty bitty things, can be so hard.
Yes.
And believe me, I'm in it right now, Pamela. I mean, I've been going through this breakup that I have been in such resistance to, and I don't want it. It's not what my ego wants, but my body knows it's what needs to happen, at least for right now. And so, like, this is a really rich conversation just for me personally. So thank you for showing up. And I know that we are often, always, not sorry, people, this is time to get real, resistance to even the biggest change or the smaller change.
Yeah.
And yet, when we can attune to, okay, it's not what my ego wants, it's not what my head wants, it's not the thought, those are not my truth, but like how to have the courage to peel back the minutia of the conditioning or the narratives or the desires that were based on maybe something previous, to say, okay, all that's there. How can I drop in and listen? And then have the courage to do something about what you hear.
Yes. Because we're so good at denying that we actually heard what we heard. The truth is that we are so intuitive that we can barely stand it. So, one of my brilliant teachers, I have to nod to her because so much of my practice is infused from her teachings, Carolyn Mays, MYSS. I just want to nod to her because there's so many jewels that I, as we're talking, it's because of her rich teachings. But there's this piece that we do selective listening, and she talks a lot about that. I want to listen to things because I want to direct the change. It's about what I want. And we move from what I want. There's something about this when we have those moments that bring us to our knees, right? Moments that continue. For me, the biggest one was 9/11, right? How can I get up from this? I don't want my life to look like this anymore. So what we start to do is start to listen deeply and say, how am I being called even for this moment? Do I need to change how I'm eating? Do I need to change how my bedtime? Do I need to change my relationship? Do I need to change where I live? So we start with what is next? What's just the next step? And it's in that action that we then learn and develop and make a deposit into our self-esteem bank account. Right? It's in the action of it. So often we think, okay, I'm going to arrive and there's self-esteem and I'm getting out and it's going to be a big party and all that. No. It's, if we really look closely in our lives, it's always moving. It's always moving.
And I mean, change is the natural progression of nature, and yet we are the ones that resist the natural change.
Yeah.
And so when we can recognize, okay, I don't want this right now. The universe is like giving me all these blaring signs, and I'm tuning in, I'm in resistance, and yet I'm preventing what's naturally trying to occur through fear, through anxiety, through trauma, through conditioning, through expectation, through attachment, like you name it. And yet we're all designed to continue to be on this path of growth. And how are we getting in our own way? So I love what you're saying of like, okay, just what's next? And that could be really small, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, really small. Yeah, for me, what's next is what I realize is I just started drinking celery juice in the morning. I love it. but I had big resistance to it, right? So what next is it could be something, adding something in, taking something different, but there is change. And there's a piece that when you were talking, what came up for me was what I find over and over and over again when we're in this space of change. And I say this with compassion because holding ourselves with judgment and being critical and all of that is not helpful. But we do it anyway because we see ourselves doing the same thing, but we want to change. But here's the piece is that what I find is the reason why people are staying the same is because they want control.
Yes.
If I can control it every step of the way, and we know if we make one subtle change, it will start to shift the whole of our lives, even one subtle change. And what comes raining down or what could come is complete chaos. So we talk about control and chaos as being complete opposites. And how can we have both? How can we start to live in the tension of both? Because if you really look closely, myself included, when we really want to change something, we want to control our world and keep it the same.
Yeah.
Because we know if we allow change to come, our world will change. And who are we in that new world?
Yeah. I love that, the tension of chaos and control. And that's the paradox we live in as humans.
Yeah.
Right? That's the duality of both exist simultaneously all the time. Can we allow for both to be true? Especially when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Especially
When, right? And that's what I've noticed through some of my healing journey that I'm on right now is, oh, fuck, man, I got to have a new relationship with control because I'm really good at wanting to be able to create control because that gives me safety, security, a sense of agency or power. And then it's like, okay, well, now let's look at that. And I could try to control an outcome, but what can I actually control? Well, I may not be able to control an outcome, but I can't control my response. I can control my breath. I can control which thought to choose to believe. So even if I'm working with this thing, I'm going to call control as a way to balance out the chaos. Maybe I can still be working with control, but not in the way I thought.
Exactly, because it's changed. Yes. Yes. And there you have some growth edge. Yeah, it's beautiful. What a beautiful way to hold that, Jory.
So how does the soul archetype, so can we talk a little bit more about that and how this fits into all that we're talking about leaning into this edge, about holding this duality, about understanding there's a bigger power or message or path for me. Am I on it? How do I know? What do I do?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I feel like there's like 5 beautiful, juicy questions in that. So where to
I know.
start?
So take whichever one you want to start.
I want to take the one, I'll start with this one is, am I on it? Yes. The answer is yes. The idea of being born with soul archetypes, and Carolyn Mace talks about having 12 archetypes that we're born with that create and make up our sacred contract, right? There's this idea that our soul was born knowing what we are up to in this world. And so for whatever moment, wherever you are listening to this right now, you have been on your soul path this entire time. It has gotten you to this point. The people that you've been with, the experiences that you've had, the events that you have had to have happened in order for you to be this awake to listen to this and have the capacity to say, I am more than just this tiny little ego moving through, going to the grocery store, all the things. And the soul archetypes matter because they're guiding you toward specific experiences. And if you look closely, you'll see that those experiences have similar patterns, some of them. Some of you are artists, and you will have the pattern of the artist archetype. Some of you are mothers, right? Some of you may not were born being mothers, and then you came, right? Always going to be a mother. And some of us came into motherhood later. but there's patterns to these experiences, and then as you re-experience them, you start to wake up to your empowerment, your soul empowerment and choice.
Mm-hmm. So there's 12 archetypes. Can you go through briefly?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we could spend 3 hours on just that, right?
Yes. So there's way more than 12.
Okay.
There's, hundreds. You look at Greek mythology, you look back in Plato, right? Carl Jung. Archetypes have been with us for a long time. They mean origin or beginning. Arc means beginning, origin, and type means model, right? So there's this phenomenal way of looking at them. And archetypes reveal patterns that were in your life firmly in place before you were born. So out of a gazillion of them, right? Let's just say at least 100 or more. You have 8 that are specific to you. You're not going to be the only one to have that. And this is a key teaching with archetypes. So even though we are both mothers, Jory and I, and other people listening to this, we have the mother archetype. It could be something that we came in with, and it could be something that's just visiting for a chapter. That's very complicated. I'm not going to get too far into that. The piece is, though, is that if you and I both have the mother archetype, it's impersonal. Yet we have a very personal experience with it. Mm-hmm. If you and I are both artists, we have that impersonal nature of the artist. It can be in many of us. So depending on your soul contract, you have a specific set of 8 out of those. The other 4 are universal, what we call survivor archetypes. And those 4 are the victim, Carolyn Mace's work, the victim, the saboteur, the child archetype, and what we call the prostitute. So these 4 are like 4 legs to a table. And it's really, they really came on very early in life. So that's how we get. So identifying the 8 is work. It takes work. Yeah.
And are those 8 shifting over our journey, or are they set for us?
Yeah, this is a great question. The 8 that you came in with are set with you.
Okay.
You will have archetypal patterns that visit during certain chapters of your life. I was not born with the mother archetype, yet I'm a mother. Okay. So, I, of course, right. And we all have access to the mother archetype because we have a mother. Other archetypes will come in to show you certain ways to help you get into, move you into more of an integrated, empowered place. But your original 12 archetypes that you came in with don't change. How you relate to them, your consciousness around them, that's what shifts.
And the process of discovering those 12 archetypes, is that something like, makes me think of like astrological paths set out for us that are based on, different factors of our birth or our name or alignment of, is it something like that in how we uncover these archetypes?
Yes, you are on to something, Jory. I love how intuitive you are. You're picking up on this. So our astrological signs are archetypes. When you look at Venus, when you look at Pisces, when you look at different signs, those are archetypal. There are energies within them. And so
I am so a Capricorn.
Yes, there are 12 archetypes, and this is Carolyn Mace's work, Sacred Contracts, right? So, there's 12 archetypes, and there's 12 houses of the wheel. There's 12 houses of the wheel for astrological work as well. So there's something to that brings them together. I'll just say the identification process of figuring out your archetypes takes something, and it's not something that you do on your own. You could do some of it on your own for sure, but you really need to have a guide or people around you because you can't see your blind spots. Many times I'll have an artist in front of me and they've been an artist their whole life, but they're so in shadow that they're like, oh no, that's the artist over there because they've done great work, and they deny the artist in them. That is the shadow, but they're so an artist. So it's really in that naming of the artist, and then they can claim some of the light that's in them. That's profound work. So identifying the archetypes it takes both your experience, and it has to be true over your whole life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when people understand this, how can they then best utilize this insight for staying on their path? I mean, I'm someone, I really hold the duality of a whole lot of woo-woo and, kind of research-based neuroscience backing up a lot of stuff. And, in nod to your teacher, Carolyn Mace, Anatomy of Spirit has changed my life. I mean, that book it took me 6 months to read because I think I underlined 9 out of 10 sentences on 9 out of 10 pages. I mean, it's so much to take in. And yet I believe deeply, deeply, deeply in this intuitive interconnectivity of there is no separation of mind, body, and spirit. There is no separation of thoughts and emotions and illness. Like there is no separation of personal and professional life. There is no separation of, what I feel and what I think. Like it's all of us, all interconnected. Absolutely, 1,000,000,000%. I buy into the curiosity around looking at this holistic view. And I find myself, especially at times of change or shifts or challenge, like I'm in right now, leaning more into that spirituality, leaning more into the, okay, universe, give me the signs. Okay, universe, let me tune into my astrology. Okay, universe, because it feels comforting knowing that, oh, right. Okay. This is part of the path. I didn't think I was on, but this is the path. And if I trust that, it's gotten me everywhere else. And so let me just keep in that trust. And I don't even know what my question was anymore at this point. I'm just rambling, but it's, what do we do with it when we have this information? I think that was where I was trying to get back to. If I can have all this knowledge, but then having these archetypes and how to best utilize it for joy, peace, happiness, growth, connection, like relational, but personal.
Yeah. There's so much richness with it that the big piece is it shows you the inner work and the outer work that needs to be done to reach your highest potential, period. Inner work and outer work. And what I mean by that is that you're working both. It's both and you come back to what has been recurring for you, what has been the restlessness that just won't stop. It's this waking up consciously. So the archetypes sit energetically in the 8th chakra. So if you're familiar with the chakra system, I'll just bring that part in. And it really is like having a certain cookie cutter. If you have the seeker archetype, right? And everybody has seeker. It's a certain pattern, a certain place of how it comes into your body. And then that's going to play out. So knowing your archetypes, knowing which house on the wheel that they are in, gives you certain insights into how you will respond, the work that you need to go after, where you are playing small, where you are ready to get rid of those old stories that no longer serve you, and you can then author a new story for yourself, period. So it is work. I'm not going to say it's overnight work because it's not.
Of course not. It never is.
The people that do this work, right, they take it on, and it is life changing. It is life changing to be able to see yourself from a more cosmic view and be able to see yourself on the ground in the grit. It's both and. So you get to sense yourself bigger, and you get to really just say, here I am.
Yeah. Well, and that cosmic being, I've been doing a lot of leaning into more law of attraction and really kind of attuning to this idea that we are from source. It is, that source wants the best for us, and we often ignore how to get there. Right. So I think there's so many different ways to say the very same thing. And what you are presenting in this soul path archetypes are yet another modality to access what our journey is all about, what we're here to learn. And like you said, how to reach our highest potential, which I don't know about you, but I don't think we ever actually reach, right? Like it's never like we attain it. It's always an intention or a direction, or it's the journey. It's not the destination, right? I mean, this is journey forward. It's not the destination. We didn't say journey, is done.
Yeah.
It's okay. Each next step of it is, that was my highest potential in that moment or iteration or this version of myself. And now, oh, look, more lessons. Yay. Let's get to the next base camp.
Yes, exactly. And I think that that's an important piece that you brought in, is this piece of, and that's why I love Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. She nails that. When I saw that, I thought brilliant, because it is a verb. We are becoming. We are not nouns. We are beings. We are becoming. And that is essential for that 10th house, highest potential. What is the mountain that is mine to climb right now? And the thing is, here's the piece, is what's hidden to me. Whatever is hidden to me, I will find during my climb on the mountain with whatever it is that I have to do. It's already within me, but I think I don't have it. But it's in the doing where I discover, oh, I would have had to have had this self-esteem the whole time in order to do the thing that scared me the most. I would have had to have had love in me the whole time when I was out here looking for it. Like that.
Yeah. It's all within us, right? And I think those are the experiences that highlight, no, abundance is already in you. You don't find abundance. When you believe in your own abundance, then you are aligned with it. And then there it is. When we are in resistance of it, because we don't believe it in ourselves, then we don't see it out there. So it confirms that we are not what we think we are, right? I mean, ultimately, I think what I'm trying to say, Pamela, is, oh, fuck, we get in our own way, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do. We do it again and again and again. And when you
then
think
wonder,
that you're done
why
with
am
it,
I here? And then we wonder, like, wait, but how did I get here? I thought I was like on my path. It's like, oh, right. I was in my own way again. Oh, yep, there's that again.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so here's the thing, so beautiful. And then we have lightness about it. We have humor about it. It doesn't have us at the throat as much. Here's this lightness of being, and we don't stay there as long. We're able to then say, I recognize this place. I'm going to let myself move through this so I can get past it. Yeah. Because the only way on the other side of it is through it.
Yeah. Can't go around it, can't go under it, can't go over it. We just got to get through it. So I want to quickly ask you, because you mentioned it in the beginning, and I'm curious the overlap or interplay of doing the Enneagram work.
Yes.
And how that overplays into these soul path archetypes, because the last time I had you on the show was early on, and it was talking about Enneagram. And I continue to remain fascinated with the Enneagram, and yet I've never actually taken the test. But I think I'm a 3, but I could also be a 6. I think I'm a 3 though. Anyhow, not the point. I am curious in this interplay in how we can take separate modalities, that what you're trained in and what you do with your clients and what you teach, and how do we connect them? And are they ever out of alignment? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, would we have a certain archetype that doesn't really fit with our Enneagram makeup? Is there ever conflict within our process? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think so. So we have an Enneagram structure, right, that we need, because we need an ego. We need to have a healthy ego out there that takes us to the grocery store and cooks our food and picks our son up from school and does all those things. And it gets in the way because it gets us so narrow-minded, and it wants to keep us in a box. We become unaware of what's outside of the box. So what I have found, my work and my own healing was, finding Carolyn's work in 2002. And at the same time, finding the Enneagram, 5 years after that, or 4 years after that. So it's both. And what I realize is that we have an ego structure with certain patterns within it. And not everybody that has, for example, the type 3, let's go with that. Not everybody that has the type 3 Enneagram structure will have the athlete archetype. Not everybody that has the type 3 Enneagram structure will have the entrepreneur archetype, right? Not everybody that has the type 3 Enneagram structure will have the artist archetype. And you're going to find that that's where there's some flavors that shift and change. If you put a panel of 5 type 3s up there and you ask them the same question, you're going to get something different.
Right.
The archetypes are playing behind that. So I really look at soul path as the intersection of ego, Enneagram, and soul archetypes, soul patterns. They're both, right? And if we know,
I love that.
Yeah.
That
So
makes a lot of sense, right? It just
good.
feels like, it feels like you're adding different ingredients to the recipe.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better, I'm hungry right now. So I'm like, ooh, food. Okay, let's use that analogy.
Same. I have to go get lunch after this too.
Yes.
Yes.
That as you kind of gave that image of that overplay, I'm like, oh, they're just adding different things into this like soup pot of different aspects. And we can just focus on just one and say, this is who I am. Or we can focus on another and say, no, this is who I am. But I think what we're really saying here is, no, it's all who we are. And they all have benefit and purpose and a place in our understanding of who am I? How did I get here? Where am I supposed to be? What's blocking me from getting there? And how do I clear it? Like, that's what we're all trying to do here, right?
Yeah. Yes. And I think it also points to how complex we are in this idea that we are energetic beings, and we hold, like, where is the Enneagram structure? I can't like give it to you. I can't say, here's mine, right? We talk about it. We experience it. It's a framework in our field. Same with archetypes, right? How can I show you the mystic archetype, right? I can't. It's through an experience of each other and ourselves that we experience it. So it's what we're made of is very complex, and being able to hold the framework for archetypes or for the Enneagram is what I love to do. I love complex frameworks, and I love to read patterns and energy.
I love that. And, I think about all of us who, so many of my guests I have on the podcast, the commonality is, for the most part, heart-based entrepreneurs, right? And we're all here with a purpose and a mission and a desire and a drive to not just, and there's my dog. He often shows up at some point in the podcast, so that sounds great. But we all are here with a purpose and a drive for healing and for living our best life. And so I look at it as kind of like, it's just another door into the same room of achieving alignment or joy or self-love or self-acceptance or abundance. And I think part of it is we often look for those things outside of ourselves. Oh, this relationship will heal me. That new car will make me feel good. That vacation will give me what I want. And yet wherever you go, there you are. So whether it's the way you do work with your clients, or I do work with my clients, or last week's guests or next week's guests, like, they're all different doors into the same room of what I believe the listeners of this podcast are seeking, which is, how do I feel good? How do I feel content within myself? How do I face chaos and challenge and what I don't like with a little more ease or grace or self-compassion?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you agree that we're just looking for doors into the room?
Absolutely. Well said. And, I'm a true believer in deep study, self-observation tools, right? And all of the guides of many forms, we've all had this. I think that that's spot on with what can I do? I want to feel better. I don't want to be lost. I want to be happy. I don't want to feel the shame. I want to lose the weight, or whatever the thing is. It's what do I need? We need tools, we need awareness, and we need a boatload of courage.
And I love what, just the name of what you're doing. We need a path.
Yeah.
We just need a path. And then we've got to have the courage to believe the path, stay on the path, trust the path. Just having it is part of it, right? But that's where the guidance comes in.
Exactly. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with being like a spiritual dilettante, right? So sometimes we're digging a hole over here and we're just looking for water. And then we're like, oh, I'm going to go dig over here for a little bit. I'm going to look for water. And then, oh, I'm going to write yoga, Enneagram, soul archetypes, tapping, whatever it is, right? Those are just some meditation, right? You're an amazing meditation teacher, right? So we come to different classes, and here's the thing: is that all the tools bring us back home to ourselves. We find
that's what we're trying to get back into. That's the intention, and I would say it's an intention, not a goal, because we may never achieve it, but we can always be stepping towards that.
Yeah.
So I said at the beginning, and I'm reiterating, you and I could continue to talk, and you know, these conversations are so soul fulfilling for me, because I love talking at this level. I love connecting with others who are on a journey of self-awareness and healing and giving their gifts to others, and you are definitely someone that I've always connected with in that way, and I'm so grateful to have you on again. And how can people find you if they want to know more about these soul path archetypes, or, you know, be able to work with you in any of these interplays of discovering your inner treasure, or Enneagram work, but really this soul path archetypes that you're doing now? What's the best way to connect with you, find you, work with you?
Oh, that's great, Jory. So thank you for all that. And I just want to say, I reciprocate, you know, everything you said. Your light in the world. So you can email me, Pamela@soulpathguidance.com. And my website is soulpathguidance.com.
Which will be a link in the show notes. It'll be very easy for everyone to get to.
Yeah. And then Instagram, I'm out there doing that. I do offer group work with archetypes, and I do that through CMED. I'm a Carolyn Mace mentor, so we offer those group work. But you know, one-on-one work, you can find me, and it's very rich, and it's so powerful. And I invite you into this deep and mysterious yet soulful, happy, joyful, ecstatic, rip you open, and then with joy, really experience. So one-on-one work is what I also recommend for, Enneagram coaching or archetypal work as well. This both are brilliant.
I love it. Pamela, thank you so much for sharing your gifts. And everyone's listening to the audio, but I'm looking at your face, and I see the passion arise, and the joy and excitement that exudes from you, because it feels so connected to your belief system and guiding others in healing, which is really what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for sharing your gifts, and the links will be in the show notes if you want to find out and learn more. And everyone, we're just trying to get in the room. So whatever door you walk through, I'll meet you all in the room.
Yes, we're all doing it together. And Jory, I just really appreciate how you're spreading your light.
Oh, thank you
and
so
living
much.
From your heart. Yeah, this is a beautiful offering. This podcast.
It's a practice. It's definitely a practice, and thank you for that. And hope everyone got what they needed to hear from this today. That whatever message you were needing, you got it. So take care and be well, everyone.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.